Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
We're going to start the week off with a groaner. Yeah, listen. Albert and Gladys were talking. Albert says, "Why are you so glum today?" And Gladys says, "Oh, I was just thinking about getting older and all the people I've lost along the way." And Albert says, maybe a career as a tour guide wasn't for you. Oh. Morning, here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a Patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance on a Monday. Get out of bed if you're not already. Oh, my goodness sakes, good morning on a Monday, already June 11th. My goodness sakes, Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, saying if you're going on a road trip, come on in. They've got the best of tires for you, along with some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, let's go to the phone line and have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, my friend.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, Dougie, call back in a little bit. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. And right now, let's go to the weather forecast, brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 west of Heyburn. Right there. You couldn't miss them on the Burley Paul Highway. You betcha Roger and the crew, they got the best tools and equipment for you. And finish any project. I mean, the rototillers and all the lawn mowers and the post hole diggers. And they've got that special washer for cleaning up buildings too. I'm telling you, it's all there at K&R Rental. Number to call 678-3122. Right now, here's the weather.
It's going to be another beautiful day as we kick off another work week here at Zeb at the Ranch. We are looking at sunny skies for today, expecting a high of 70, but it is going to be breezy. Winds out of the west, right around 10 miles an hour, increasing by the afternoon, and gusts possible as high as 30 miles an hour. We are in a frost advisory for this evening and into the overnight areas, so if you have some tender vegetables outside, you might want to cover those up. Clear skies for tonight and a low of 40. Still going to be breezy, and that's going to contribute to the frost factor. For tomorrow, sunny skies, expecting a high of 78. Clear skies for tomorrow night with a low of 50. By Wednesday, sunny skies and getting up to 90 degrees. Mostly clear for Wednesday night with a low of 55. By Thursday, sunny and 80 and cooling off to 78 for Friday. That's your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
I like it. Thank you, Gina. Brought to everybody by K&R Rental. These are really good folks. They get there early in the morning at 7 a.m. to serve you with all the tools and equipment you might need. Contact them today, and for long-term or short-term rentals, they've got it for you at K&R Rental on the Burley Paul Highway, 678-3122. Also want to acknowledge our friends over at Daryl's Cleaners, and if you've got your shirts and your ladies' dresses and your sports jackets and everything else, hey, listen, take them to the people that really care about your clothing. They do, and they do such a nice job that when you go to pick them up, you're going to go, holy smokes, they look brand new. Daryl's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Oh, my goodness, they are so good. We've been taking our clothes in there for years. Excellent people that really care. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. My dear friend George Mass had sent me an email, and I forgot to put this on last week, and he wanted to take a moment to give thanks to all the people that made this year's Idaho Roll Call Ride a great big success, and I'm going to breeze through these really quick. Major sponsors: City of Rupert, Rupert Police Department, Combat Veterans Motorcycle Association, and Connections Credit, and Rupert Veterans Memorial Incorporated, Burley Inn, Idaho State Senators Kelly Anthon and Marv Hagedorn, and Master of Ceremonies Ken Mort, R.J. Wardle, and David Fairchild, Dennis Arrington for the flag raising, Camille Mort, Pledge of Allegiance, Pastor Travis Turner, prayer and dedication, Mayor Mike Brown, reading of the proclamation, Pastor Dan Hendricks, excellent music, Roger Bovey and Melanie Arrington for the placing of the wreath, and the Rifle Squad from the Declo American Legion, Commander Roger Bovey, Trevor Schultz for the beautiful rendition of Taps, Jesse Johnson, Scotty Cameron for the live broadcast on CAT, and Chief Randy White, Tom Goodman and crew, and Michael Arrington for taping the program, along with the weekly mailer. There you go. Thanks to all those people for helping make it a great success. And I just told George I'd get that on there for him. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to remind you that this Wednesday, we may see the temperatures get up over the big 9-0. Might be warm. Then it's going to kind of cool off and rectify itself a little bit. But for your air conditioning needs, don't forget at Ramsey Heating and Electric, they've got all the air conditioning filters. And that'll keep your machine working efficiently and cool to keep you cool. Yeah, it's kind of a team effort. So don't forget, stop into Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. They're open 7:30 in the morning till 5, Monday through Friday, and the number to call, 678-0459. Ramsey Heating and Electric, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. And had a lot of calls. People are wondering now, when is the June lunch munch? I said last week a couple of times, it's going to be on the 21st, week after next. And that's on Thursday, the 21st, fittingly the first day of summer. And we're going to be at Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley, America's Diner. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, anytime, all the time. Great menu choices. Nice people serving you. It's all there at Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley, with the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch, and we'll be there on the 21st. Calls are welcome and appreciated right now at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to say this. I've mentioned it on my program before, and I am adamant about this. On Friday morning, I received in the mail an envelope that had my name on the front of the envelope and no return address. I opened it up, and there was a letter inside, and it said Zeb, and then the rest of the content of the letter, and then at the bottom, no signature. Now, I'm going to say this, and if somebody's offended by it, so be it. If you are telling me something that I should check on, or you have a strong feeling against or for something that you want me to pursue and have on my program, you'd better sign the letter. I do not, and I will not, put anything on the air or exhaust any effort to check on any story that you talk about or want me to talk about without you having the common courtesy and the professionalism of signing your name to the letter. I do not deal in speculation. I do not deal in vagaries. And if you don't have the fortitude to put your name out there as to who you are and why you sent this letter, don't send it to me. Don't waste your time or your postage thinking that I'm going to take an unsigned letter and try to run with it. Not going to happen. Okay? Don't do that. And if you call me, tell me who you are. Or don't call me. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
You know who I am.
Yep.
Or do I need to tell you?
Believe me, I know who you are.
Yes.
Okay, buddy, what can I do for you?
Well, in concurrence with what you said about signing the deal, you know, years ago, it's been before I closed my business, I had a discussion with the publisher of the weekly mailer, and I told him, I'm not going to advertise with you anymore if you're going to continue to put these letters in there without a signature.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to interrupt you right there, Keith. That's past tense, and the same thing and the same complaint I had. But I don't want to go back and shovel dirt out of a hole that's already been filled up and it's been a long time passing. So I don't even want to go there anymore.
Well, I can understand that. But I didn't advertise any more after that. But evidently it didn't resonate.
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is, and I think you'll agree, and everybody I hope will agree, what good is an opinion by somebody or whatever it might be when it's sent either to you personally or it's put in the newspaper or someone calls you and they won't give you the name? What good is it when they don't have the intestinal fortitude to back up by just saying who they are?
I think that is a cowardly thing to do.
It is. It absolutely is. And I, for one, I will not take those letters, and the reason I brought it up, I've had quite a few of them in the last couple of weeks. Well, Zeb, check on this and do this, and I feel this way, but then no name. And they all end up in the same place, in the trash.
And it's the same thing if they're going to call you on the radio. If they don't want to identify themselves, then it's just not. It's just fodder.
No, I tell you what. On the radio, I'm not asking for everybody to say, "Hi, this is so and so, and this is my opinion." That's a talk show, and call-ins are welcome, just like you. I don't mention or ask for your name. I know who you are anyway. But the point I'm getting at is when somebody demands, and some of these letters were very demanding. I demand that you go check this out. I demand that you do this. Well, first of all, you don't demand me to do anything. And second of all, if you don't have the guts to sign your name, the letter is nothing worth more than setting a match to it.
Well, there again, when you have somebody call in and they're very adamant against you and everything else like that, if they don't tell you who they are, you should hang up.
Well, you know, I let them have their spew. You know, I can take it. I mean, some of the liberal left, and it's happened many times in the past, they feel vindicated if they call me up and they spew this and spew that, and then they won't identify who they are. They do it to me every day on my cell phone. That's okay. Keith, I'm not going to worry about it. I hope you and Nancy have a wonderful day. Thank you very much.
We're on our way.
All right, sir. Thank you.
Bye.
I want to remind everybody about Pomerelle Place. Hey, they got a big happening coming up this next Saturday, the 16th, and they're going to have a car show. Yeah, I don't mean miniature. I'm talking real cars from 10 a.m. to noon right there at Pomerelle Place at 1301 Bennett Street in Burley. And then at noon, they're going to have a great big barbecue and then a concert. What a day is planned at Pomerelle Place. Holy mackerels. And I guarantee you this absolutely is a place for senior living, offering the ability for seniors to maintain their independence both safely and comfortably. Call and find out more. Pomerelle Place at 1301 Bennett Street in Burley, 677-8212. Call them today. I know somebody else you better call if you're standing out in your backyard and you're going, boo. I think our septic tank is full and running over. Oh, you don't want to do that? Well, you want to call Dino's Septic Service. Absolutely. And 2 telephone numbers to remember and put on the refrigerator, 436-6526, or in Burley, 678-1638. I mean, septic tanks pumped, and backhoe service, and sewer and sink drain lines cleaned, septic inspections, liquid waste removal. What are you waiting for? Don't even worry about it. They'll come and take care of it. Fast, fair, friendly service. Dino's Septic Service, where they've got that big truck that says smells cargo on the way. Dino's Septic Service. They're good. Really, really good. All right, you be really good. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I am, and I wish somebody would call me and let me know if I have overlooked someone on the right, that has used the language and the expletives that the left is using on a frequent basis, whether it's on award shows or television shows or radio interviews. It's amazing how the low left can go further down into the pit and get away with it without any admonishment whatsoever from the media or anyone else. The terrible, low gutter language. And, you know, as a parent, and now I'm a grandparent, I don't want my grandkids subjected to absolutely filthy gutter language like what's being used by this so-called comedian Michelle Wolf or this Samantha Bee, or over the weekend like the low pond scum that he is, actor Robert De Niro. At the Tony Awards this past weekend, he goes to the podium, and again, parents, if you got little kids there, you might shuttle them into the other room, shut the door, whatever. And he goes up to the podium and he just says, and very explanatory, F Trump. Low class, no class, Democrats with absolutely no ability to express themselves other than this filthy jerkwater language. Now, Robert De Niro, I've said this so many times, it's probably old hat, that they are taught, they are directed, and they are given what to say, and so they are basically fleshy robots, many of which had hardly any high school education, let alone collegiate education. And they can say this kind of filth and get away with it. There is absolutely no respect for the presidency on the left. None, and it's not going to happen. It is not going to happen. And I think that someone or some group should absolutely denounce, he's only a man. I mean, Robert De Niro, why respect this guy? Organizations should be sending him letters and say, you know what, we denounce you, we've lost our respect for you, we're not going to try to attend any of your movies, you are absolutely a lowlife for the language that you used in public. And then it really comes out in front as to what the left is trying to do with the trashy Bill Maher. You know Bill Maher. He is absolutely anti-Christian and says things that are just absolutely devastating. He said he'd rather, now listen to this. Bill Maher said he'd rather see our economy go in the tank and go broke than acknowledge a Trump success in this country as president. I don't understand these people. It's absolutely ridiculous. They'd shoot a good racehorse for winning the race if their horse didn't win. I mean, this is ridiculous. Your thoughts. Give me a call about the language. Tell me, the reason I started this, tell me someone on the right, a conservative Republican, that has used that kind of language publicly, and I can't think of anybody. Please, because this has got really ridiculous what's being said on the left, and they're getting away with it. Calls, please, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't leave me hanging. He says, I'm so doggone tired this morning. We had a great weekend. I'm telling you, Deanna and I, we were with family all weekend, and we had a ball. It was phenomenal, but boy, am I dragging this morning. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Yes, call for an appointment today. I mean, they've got the only hydrotherapy pool around, and they've got the absolute best physical therapist, and I mean that because I know it. I've been there many, many times. Nick Greenwell and all the physical therapists helping you. All you have to do to make an appointment is 678-1191. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning again. The only people that liked Robert De Niro are the people that already like him. He's not gaining any popularity by doing that. It's just them slovenly people who believe in what he's saying, and that's just the whole crux.
Well, let me ask you this. Let me ask it this way, and I got to be really careful because I don't want this word on my program. Never do. But if a Republican or a conservative or someone that was of family values came out and said, F Trump, why the whole world would come to a screeching halt and the media would pick up on that. Let's assume that they said that about Obama when he was in office. Why, there would be people in white sheets over their head with torches, and that'd be the end of that dude.
Yeah, and if somebody did that on your radio show, it's the same thing.
Yep.
But they would really offend a lot of people.
Well, if I ever found out, and seriously, I've thought about that, if somebody did that on this show and I ever found out, I would go after them and try to get them into a litigation and sue their behind. Let me let you know that.
Well, beating them up would be better, wouldn't it?
No, let's not go there, Keith. We don't play that game. We don't play that game.
Satisfying and quick justice.
Well, I don't go there. I just say that they would be in a heap of trouble and let it go at that. Keith, thank you for your call again. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You bet. Bye-bye.
You know, I'm going to give away a dozen cookies right now. I'm in a good mood, and Sophie's Chatterbox makes delicious cookies and, of course, pies and cakes and beautiful wedding cakes and everything else. Oh, my goodness, it's phenomenal. Sophie's Chatterbox Restaurant and Bakery at 530 East Street in Rupert. And all you need to do if you're a first-time winner is call them and let them know when you want your cookies, and they'll have them ready for you. Here's a question for you this morning. Now, come on. Think about this and give me a call. In the movie, The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, name the actor who played Liberty Valance. Who played Liberty Valance? Name the actor's name, and you will receive some delicious free cookies from Sophie's Chatterbox. The number to call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. In the movie, The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, who was the actor that played Liberty Valance? Give me a call, 436-2244. Quickly, give me a call. And if you don't call, I might take the cookies for myself. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead.
The great Lee Marvin.
Who is this?
This is Gerald Church.
Gerald Church. Where do you live, Gerald?
I live over in Paul.
Well, what's your favorite kind of cookie, Gerald?
Chocolate chip.
Well, you better call them and tell them that because you want a dozen of them.
I'd even share them with you, Zeb.
I'll be looking for your pickup to come in the yard.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Gerald. God bless you, man. Thank you.
Bye.
Yep, it was Lee Marvin. Lee Marvin was the man who played Liberty Valance. A lot of people don't know that Lee Marvin, tough guy in the movies, was also a very tough guy in real life and a war hero. He was. And I believe, if I have the story correct, now somebody might correct me on this, and I'll leave the door open for it to be corrected, but Lee Marvin was wounded, and the guy that protected him and got him back to the safety of the medics and everything was Mr. Rogers of Mr. Rogers TV fame. You know, good morning, I'm Mr. Rogers, and I'm going to take off my sweater now. Yeah, he was also a war hero. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Come on, give me a call. I'd like to hear from you, and our thanks to Sophie's Cookies. I should say Sophie's Chatterbox. Thank you for providing the cookies, and Gerald Church is the winner. One other quick word before we go too far. I want to remind you, too, about Scott Goodall Landscaping and Tree Trimming. Oh, they're good. Oh, they're busy. I mean, boy, I'm telling you, landscaping and everything else. And now is the time to get those fruit trees trimmed. Say that fast 5 times. Or if you've had some wind damage, now's the time to get all the trimming done. Scott and his crew can do it. Call them at 438-2485. That number again, 438-2485. Scott Goodall Landscaping and Tree Trimming in Heyburn. You give them a call today. I'd sure appreciate it if you'd give me a call right now, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, not only the actors in Hollywood, but also people like Nancy Pelosi. You know, Nancy Pelosi is just absolutely one of the most despicable people on the left. She wants Trump to absolutely fail at everything, and his administration to fail at everything at the expense, and this is what the bottom line is, at the expense of all of us. You know, I've said this again so many times, I'm going to mention it one more time. I despised, those are the words I've used many times on my radio program, Barack Obama. I did not like the man. I did not like his ideology. I did not like him personally. I didn't like anything about him. But I can honestly say that on programs where I can provide the tapes, I wish that he could have been better for you and I, for the betterment of America. But the left can't do it that way. They can't think it that way. They can't say it that way. All they are is filled with 2 words: hate and jealousy. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. Senior Junction is having meatloaf, vegetable, and yummy dessert today. We invite everybody to come out and enjoy a great meal. And I don't know what we're having tomorrow, but it'll be good.
Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot here, Joe Taylor. What is, in your definition, a yummy dessert?
Oh, apple crisp would be a start.
Now, do you go with the whipped cream, or are you a scoop of ice cream man?
Better put the scoop of ice cream on.
Well, it sounds good to me, and we'll send everybody over to the Senior Junction on Overland.
We need more people.
All right,
Thank
Joe.
you. Have a great day.
God bless you. I tell you what, he's a good salesman. A good salesman, Joe Taylor, talking about the Senior Junction and lunch today. You stop in. Good guy. You know that tonight, now again, I'll stand corrected on this, but I believe with the time differences and everything, I believe that tonight at our time, I'm not going to go East Coast time, I'm going to go our time, 7 p.m. tonight, Donald Trump, our president, even though the Democrats won't acknowledge that, and Kim Jong-un of North Korea will be sitting down at a table that could absolutely have great effects on world peace and world harmony. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, sir.
I heard this morning some bits and pieces on what the mainstream media is saying about this meeting. It's like a bunch of passengers on an airplane wishing the pilot was so incompetent that he couldn't land it.
Yeah. That's a boy, I don't know, you got up early this morning to think about that one. That is a good analogy.
Yeah, and isn't that it? they're hoping that he fails.
Why would you want with the threat of nuclear holocaust? And you and I are old and long in the tooth, and we remember the Cuban Missile Crisis. I do very, very explicitly. I can tell you exactly where I was, what I was doing when the radio broadcast interrupted in the evening, and we might be on the verge of nuclear war. And I'll guarantee you there were no Republicans or Democrats at that time. There were worried citizens all across the United States.
Exactly. The Democrats and the left, and I've heard many people say this, and I agree with it, that they hate this president more than they love this country.
Oh, there's no question.
And I mean, then my question to them is, move. Why are you here? If you can't handle this, why are you here?
Yeah, but Doug, what I always do to people like that really haven't got the common sense that God gave a billy goat, is ask them, where would you go, what would you do, and how would you get it done in any other country? Name the country that you could go to and achieve and be successful like you can be in America. Just throw one out at me. Come on, Doug. Get one of those hundreds of countries. Tell me one.
Yeah, I'll wait. I'll wait. You just figure out a country and then tell me.
Yeah, they can't.
They can't. They really can't. They are so pampered, so into themselves that they don't care about anybody else. It is me. It is not America.
Well, it's got to be their ideology, or they're going to complain and whimper and absolutely sit on the curb with their head on their knees. Oh, we didn't get our way.
Yep, they're going to have their screaming hour or whatever it is. But this is the product of people growing up thinking that everybody deserves a trophy.
That's true. That's true, and the left can't take it when we're... Listen, man, I'm not ashamed to admit it. I'm praying, and I mean that literally, for success at this meeting tonight. And then I heard this morning all these different people, and Wheels, ride that gain on the feedback, please. I'm hearing a lot of people in the media condemn him for what happened at the G7 summit and everything. You know what, Doug? When countries have a 300% difference in trade philosophy and trade tariffs over and above the United States, listen, if I were the president, I'd go in with the same attitude. You start playing ball in a fair way, or we're walking away, and that's what he did.
Exactly. These people that are complaining about this, first off, they are ignorant on what is going on and who's charging what. Because Canada is, 300 and some percent on dairy?
That's just what I mentioned a moment ago. And you know Trudeau up there in Canada, you know what? I don't care if he sits there and he looks at the TV cameras and condemns Donald Trump and condemns the USA, but I'll look right back at Trudeau and I'll say, hey, listen, pard, you know, it's inequitable. You're getting the fair shake of the dog's tail. We're getting the mud that flies off.
Exactly. Oh, Trudeau, he's something else. He's going to be taken down a few notches, and so is that one in France, and so is Merkel and them. I mean, I've seen that picture of President Trump sitting down with his arms folded, and everybody's leaning over the table, and President Trump has just got a smirk on his face, like, go ahead.
You know, later on this morning, Doug, and I'm not really too sure what side of the fence this guy that's going to be on is grazing his cows. His name is Eddie Turner. And I booked him at the last second this morning, as a matter of fact, to come on and talk about this summit meeting. And he is what's called a leadership expert. And I've got a feeling from some of the things I've read about this guy, and I could be wrong, that he's going to come out in condemnation about Donald Trump. So it could be a little fiery exchange this morning.
Well, that'd be good for our...
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
This debate is a good debate.
Well, the debate is, here's simple terminology. Donald Trump and his administration have been highly successful in a year and a half in putting America on a better course economically, and I think on a better course for our security. Anybody that says they haven't, tell me where they've failed. We've got a stronger market, we've got stronger everything, and I honestly am going to give the guy some credit.
Well, and look at all of the resistance he's had, and he's still succeeded.
Yep.
And that's what's getting Washington, D.C. They don't know how to operate on Trump's time frame.
Well, wait a minute. You could have stopped your sentence when you said they don't know how to operate. Period.
This is true.
I got to run, Doug.
And one more quick thing, that De Niro. I got an analogy, and I thought of this morning. So if you know a restaurant that serves bad food or has bad service, do you patronize that restaurant?
Absolutely not.
So these people are entertainers, and if we do not like what they stand for and what they do, we need to stop going to the movies. I mean, if all the conservatives for a week just didn't go to a movie across the U.S., Hollywood would go, what is going on?
Yeah, and I'll tell you something. This filthy language that the left and the Democrats are trying to bring in as acceptable never will be with me. Doug, I got calls waiting. I got to run.
Okay, God bless. Everybody, let's do what you can for our senior center.
Thank you, Doug. I appreciate it. Caller, I'll be right there real quick. I want to remind everybody about Berry Equipment and Rental, sales, service, and parts. Oh, these people are good. Absolutely. 3 locations, 159 West Highway 30 in Burley with Juan, our old buddy, and 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin with Eli, and the Nampa location for the best of equipment rentals, retail equipment sales. Do not forget that they've got all the Walker lawnmowers too. Oh boy, the Walker lawnmowers, the best. Check it out today at Berry Equipment and Rental. Burley, Twin Falls, and Nampa, the best. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. Justin Trudeau is not a fair representation of Canada. And I'll tell you why. Because he leans towards the French, whatever they think. In fact, they wanted to secede from Canada and have their own country. But the western part of Canada, really, really good people, and they think more conservatively. Do you agree?
Oh, there's no question in my mind. I know a lot of ranchers. I know a lot of people in the cattle business. I know a lot of professional rodeo cowboys where their families have been long established in the western part of Canada. I totally agree with that thinking, but it's the eastern part that absolutely causes a lot of problems. Gee, that's almost indicative of what's going on here, too.
Yes, it is. And this guy, to stab him in the back, so to speak, right after he leaves there, I don't blame President Trump of what he said.
I never have liked Trudeau because I think he's kind of like a piece of milk toast and wishy-washy and bends the way the wind blows. And I think what I will say in regards to what's going on with the tariff situation and free trade, let this thing play out a little bit and let's see who comes back to the table to negotiate. Got to run, Keith. Thank you so much.
Yeah, he is more of a rock star than he is a prime minister.
Oh, I don't know if I'd call him a rock star because I certainly wouldn't want to go to one of his concerts. Anyway, thank you very much.
You bet.
All right. Don't forget on Tuesdays, Stoats Equipment, 119 Overland Avenue with Ag Minutes. Oh, my goodness. Vic is on the program, and we've had a good time putting those on the air, featuring agriculture and the people and events you need to know about right here in Magic Valley. Thank you to Stoats Equipment with the Ag Minutes on Tuesdays at 9:47 right here on Zeb at the Ranch. Stoats Equipment, making your life easier. We're going to have a weather forecast here real quick. Hold on. I got to get my papers. Oh, if you saw this desk. Oh, if you saw this desk. Our weather brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And, of course, they're right behind the Minidoka Hospital across from the emergency room. And the number to call, and please let them help you with your hearing health needs. 312-0957. That number again, 312-0957. And they are dedicated to serving people with hearing loss of all ages. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
It's going to be another beautiful day as we kick off another work week here at Zebeth Ranch. We are looking at sunny skies for today, expecting a high of 70, but it is going to be breezy. Winds out of the west, right around 10 miles an hour, increasing by the afternoon, and gusts possible as high as 30 miles an hour. We are in a frost advisory for this evening and into the overnight areas, so if you have some tender vegetables outside, you might want to cover those up. Clear skies for tonight and a low of 40. Still going to be breezy, and that's going to contribute to the frost factor. For tomorrow, sunny skies, expecting a high of 78. Clear skies for tomorrow night with a low of 50. By Wednesday, sunny skies and getting up to 90 degrees. Mostly clear for Wednesday night with a low of 55. By Thursday, sunny and 80 and cooling off to 78 for Friday. That's your weather for Zebeth Ranch.
So it sounds good to me, Gina. Thank you very much. Don't forget Mount Harrison Audiology, the only independent, locally owned hearing healthcare practice in southern Idaho. Call for an appointment today. I did. They helped me. They can help you. 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Really, really good people. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. What about, honestly, parents, grandparents, everybody, chime in on this. Isn't it time to maybe say enough on the absolutely off-color and gutter language that's being used on television, radio, and in the press? Isn't it time to back off and kind of clean things up a little bit? You know, I'm as guilty as anyone else over the years, maybe losing my temper and saying things I shouldn't have. And boy, I've been on a campaign to stop that and not have the potty mouth. Well, national TV or national newscasts and saying with fluent, they don't care, just let it hang out, like Robert De Niro and some of these others, or Samantha Bee. Why? And it's like the comedians, again, so-called comedians, that have to rely on the gutter humor. Why don't we just issue an edict and say, well, I'll tell you what, we're going to turn you off. We're going to stop going to your concerts. We're going to stop this and stop that until you start cleaning things up a little bit. Now, I understand that Jerry Seinfeld is a comedian that absolutely will not use the vile, dirty language, and I compliment him for that. I'm not saying I'm a fan of Jerry Seinfeld, but I'm just saying I compliment him on that. But in the old days, of humor, I mean, you couldn't get on television, whether it was on the old Jack Benny program or not Edward R. Murrow. Who in the world am I thinking of? Wherever he folded his arms and always said, well, here we go, a really big show. I can't think of his name all of a sudden. My mind went blank. But they didn't rely on dirty gutter humor. And some of the really good, funny, well-written TV shows, I don't think anybody can argue. Take let's pick one. Andy of Mayberry and Don Knotts as Barney. That was so doggone funny. I still chuckle and sit there and smile at the entirety of that show, wishing it wouldn't end. I mean, Barney with his one bullet in his pocket. Barney with the hair all going askew when he gets into a fracas. And it was just funny. Good humor. No bad gutter language. And actors, you never would think that John Wayne would step up in front of a camera and say that. Never. Or Robert Mitchum. Or Lee Marvin. There was a tough guy that didn't care about anything. He'd never say that in an awards ceremony. It's just really got in the gutter today. What are your thoughts? Give me a call quickly on that. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. No, I'm not trying to be puritanical. No, I'm not trying to play holier than thou. It's just, we've let everything go in our society. and there are no values. There doesn't appear to be any morals. And like I've said many times, the old covers on the Saturday Evening Post are gone, unfortunately. And anything goes. And these wacky athletes, LeBron James and others, I'm never going to go to the White House. Why I wouldn't stoop that low to go see Trump? You know, wait a minute, cool it. It's a real career high to win a world championship and then be asked to go to the White House to meet the President of the United States, regardless of who is in that Oval Office. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Morning, Deb. I've always thought over the years when people, comedians or actors, and they try to make a middle note in your mind by saying vile things or cussing or being really crude, and they want you to remember them for this. You know, that one time that actor said this, this, or this, but they fail to realize is a good actor is John Wayne. I'll use him because he's a really good actor and a really good person was. But it's the way you act and the way you behave on the silver screen and the roles that you play that will stick with the mind, and not the harsh language or the crude comment. It's what they say and what they do that actually will always stick with you.
Absolutely. Riley, that was, again, very well stated. Thank you for your call this morning, and I hope you have a wonderful week. Thank you so much.
I'm going to gather some cows. I'm going to have a great day.
All right, enjoy. Thank you, my friend. You know, I think back at some of the old-time actors, and one that comes to mind as, honestly, a nice guy. And he really approached all of his films, I think, with first-class attitude, and that's Jimmy Stewart, a World War II bomber pilot. And after he got out of the service, he was home. I don't know if you know the story about Jimmy Stewart or not, but he was only home a couple of days, and they filmed It's a Wonderful Life. And the one sequence with Donna Reed, and she's talking on the telephone to her old boyfriend, they only took one take on that. I mean, it was just really a well-done movie. Jimmy Stewart in so many movies. And by the way, he was also a star in that movie I talked about earlier this morning, The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. And John Wayne, Lee Marvin, they were all in that movie. Can you imagine, honestly, James Stewart, an icon not only for Hollywood, but also an icon for how he served this country, standing up at an awards ceremony and speaking in the gutter like Robert De Niro? Think about that. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. As far as I'm concerned, De Niro couldn't carry the suitcase for James Stewart, John Wayne, or anybody. And here De Niro is using the filthiest of language. Don't forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, and they say if you're getting ready to go on a road trip, stop in and see us. Absolutely. Caller, I'll be there in a minute. Don't forget all 7 locations with the best of tires for your road trip. And they've got the Ultra Z900. It's on sale right now. All-season traction radio for your cars. They've got all the tires for your cars, pickups, SUVs, horse trailers, boat trailers, whatever you need tires for. And they know tires. I think every one of them is a graduate in tireology because they know what is going to be best for you and your driving conditions. Stop in and see them today. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley, the best, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Caller, I've got 1 minute left. Go ahead, please.
Okay, yeah, I'll make it real quick. Getting back to talking about some of these actors that used to be and everything compared to the ones of today and the way they kind of kept their mouth in check. Yeah, people like John Wayne, Gary Cooper, Jim Stewart, and all them guys, they exhibited all the time an air of decency.
Absolutely.
They were just decent as far as guys go. And you got your guys like De Niro and a few of them others that are just total. We try to keep it as clean as I can here.
Well, I'll sum it up for you.
I can't really.
I'll sum it up. I'll sum it up for you.
They just right out of the top of their head without even thinking, just bellowing out a bunch of garbage.
Yeah, they're going after the shock and the awe factor. Well, first of all, it doesn't shock me that they're that stupid, and it doesn't awe me into realizing that they're at the bottom of the barrel. Sir, I always appreciate your comments. Thank you for calling in this morning.
You got it. Have a great day.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Yeah, Robert De Niro couldn't hold a candle. He couldn't even light the candle for John Wayne or James Stewart or any one of them. And depending upon filthy language to get in the press. That's disgusting. We're going to take a little break right now, and Wheels is going to carry the ball for a little bit, and we're going to come back at 9:06 with Richard Manning. I'm looking forward to this. Don't miss it. Zev at the Ranch. I'll be right back. Oh, good morning, and welcome back. Hour number 2, Zev at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And also, don't forget some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, let's have this good word for Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
Don't forget, it's porta potty season. You're planning the event. You're checking off. Let's see. We got all the tables. We got all the chairs. We got all the food. We got all the entertainment. Oh, my gosh, you forgot the porta potties. Well, call Western Waste Services today at 734-6969. They are always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, absolutely the best. You call them today. And real fast, don't forget, too, our friends over at Hanson Mortuary with Joel Heward, his staff, his family serving you at 710 6th Street in Rupert. And the number to write down and remember, 436-5636. When there's the passing of a loved one, they are there to serve you, always with the highest ethical standards, with unquestioned integrity. Please call them today, 436-5636, for more information. Hanson Mortuary in Rupert, and Joel Heward also serving you at Morris and Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. This is going to be a real treat. I've got Richard Manning coming on the program now, president of Americans for Limited Government, and nobody is as straight a shooter as he is. Richard, good morning to you, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you, Zeb?
Absolutely phenomenal. Richard, I guess I'd like to start off with the G7 summit and some of the hubbub that has come out of the G7, with Trump basically telling everybody, hey, it's going to be fair trade. It's not going to be one-sided. If you don't like it, I'm getting up and walking away from the table. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think you made a very important point, and that is, if we're going to have free trade, let's have free trade. Everybody drop your trade barriers and let's do it. And given the fact that that is, that they had to do it with reciprocally, back and forth, and given the fact that that seems to be so radical that all those countries, the G7, the biggest economies in the world besides China, Russia isn't in it, but basically the largest economies in the world, apart from China, are sitting there saying, no, we need to maintain our unfair trade advantage with the United States. And, so it's, president's shaking things up, and, that's what we hired him to do. But, it would really be silly to expect that people who've been getting, let's say, a 25% discount on everything they do are suddenly going to say, I want to give you the same 25% discount that we haven't done in the past. It'd be silly to expect that they would do that without some crying and wailing and gnashing of teeth. But the truth is That's what President Trump's saying. He's saying, you've been siphoning U.S. dollars out to build your economies for the last 50, 60 years. And it's time that we put some equity back in this situation. And if it's a good deal for you, then it's got to be a good deal for us. And I think President Trump is changing the game. And we'll see how it plays out. But I think that the game needs to be changed because right now, the way it had been played, the people at the table, you look around, you're trying to figure out who the sucker is. If you can't identify him, it's you. Well, Uncle Sam was the sucker at the table.
Well, I agree with everything you said. As a matter of fact, I'm going to cut that portion of the tape out, and I'm going to have it printed out and then glue it on my desk. I agree with the way you said that. But as far as Prime Minister of Canada, Trudeau, and kind of a milquetoast attitude about, he can't do that to us. Listen, Canada's getting a break in some instances on dairy products coming from the United States of a 300% different. I am, for one, going to say this on the program this morning. I don't care. You go, Trump. I want to see fair trade, equitable trade, not just one-sided to help other people.
Well, and being, those of your listeners who are in Idaho, everybody from 20 years ago can remember when Idaho used to have a lot of timber industry, and a combination of dumping from Canada and the disastrous northern spotted owl deal have combined to eliminate much of the timber industry in the Northwest, including Idaho. As a result, we're sitting there with truly a circumstance where American citizens have been essentially the prey, while the international these countries have been the predators. And President Trump's tired of our citizens being the prey. Our citizens losing their jobs, our citizens having their companies driven out of business from a combination of crazy environmental rules and the trade practices which encourage others to dump into our markets. So he's tired of that. He's not going to allow that to occur anymore, and he's reconciling it. And as a result, those countries that had the good deal aren't going to, they're not going to sit there and just say, we've had a great deal and we're just going to give it up. Of course they're going to publicly posture. But just like Trudeau couldn't keep his eyebrow on, he won't be able to keep this promise either, because ultimately the Canadians are very dependent upon the U.S. as a partner, and we have our economies are too interlocking, and they cannot afford to be in a position where they are, in fact, in any kind of anything resembling a trade war with the United States. It's a war they will lose. They will lose it rapidly, and they know it.
Richard, no one that I have on my program would know more about this situation that's coming up tonight at about 7 o'clock my time here in the mountain area. And that's, of course, a very historic meeting with Kim Jong-un and President Donald Trump. Give us your thumbnail sketch of what you think is going to happen and how important this meeting is.
Well, first of all, I think the most important thing is I hope that Kim Jong-un used your advertiser, Western Way Porta Potty, because he's apparently brought his own toilets. So it's important to know that he has brought his own toilets from North Korea to Singapore for reasons that make no sense to me. But in terms of the overall deal, this is what I think is going to happen. And let's face it, we're dealing with an unpredictable personality on the side of the North Korean, and I think a very predictable personality if you pay attention in terms of President Trump. So there's no guarantees here. But President Trump isn't at the table unless the North Koreans have effectively agreed to a denuclearized Korean Peninsula. The question is, what has to happen? What does Kim Jong-un want back? What does he have to have back in exchange to achieve that goal? Obama gave the Iranians $140 billion of cash, and we didn't even get any kind of denuclearization. All we did was give them a pathway to nuclearization. That was a deal that the North Korean leader wanted to get. President Trump, by getting out of the Iranian deal, told him very clearly, "You're not getting that deal." He might get the cash. He might get some things. He might get promise of stability, promise that he's going to maintain power, all that kind of stuff. But he's not going to be able to keep nuclear weapons. He's not going to be able to keep developing them, and he's going to have to get rid of his long-range missile capacity. Those are going to be the kind of the non-negotiables on the U.S. side, and because our goal is to make the world a more stable place, and if you're going to dump cash somewhere, dump it into the pocket of somebody who just eliminate this whole problem, and the world is a safer place, and it's better than having to rebuild cities because this guy blew them up. And it's better than having to blow up all of North Korea with a fallout for Seoul and the challenges that would occur in the whole Korean Peninsula if that occurred. So overall, there's the deal is there to be made. I think we're now negotiating over what the terms are. What is we're not asking for unconditional surrender in this circumstance. We're saying, what does it cost to get to where we need to be? And the North Korean leader will make a decision if he's willing to do that or not. And it wouldn't surprise me if this is not the first of multiple meetings. But this meeting doesn't occur unless there's a baseline, and that baseline is a non-nuclearized North. It's got to be agreed to by the North Korean leader to even sit down. So that would be I think where we're starting from. It's just a matter of how we get there. It may not happen this meeting, but it will happen.
Richard, let me ask you this, and you know far, far more about these situations than I do. But this is more, to me, than a meeting with North Korea and its leader. This is going to have a residual effect on China, Russia, and Iran, I think, in the future as to how this meeting is conducted and handled. Am I wrong?
You're 100% correct. China has used, as has Russia, but China the most recently, has used North Korea as kind of a cavalry that's going out there and pushing the envelope on stuff, and all the while sitting back saying, "Oh, we'll help the U.S. We'll keep them under control." But the North Koreans have been the ones who've probed our defenses, the ones who've said, what will they do if we do this, and try to see what U.S. tolerance for bad behavior is. And what Trump is doing, what the president is doing, is he's saying we have no tolerance for bad behavior. And, oh, by the way, we're not going to go through the Chinese to get this deal done. We're going directly to you, which is, and by the way, it's like 4 or 5 presidents who've gone through the Chinese to try to get the deal done, and no deal ever got done. All we ended up with was more of a nuclearized North Korea and more entrenched leadership. So what we've got here is the president's turned everything on its head by saying, I'm not going to go through the Chinese. I love the Chinese. They're great. Say all the things he says. But I'm going to do this myself because, you know what, I don't trust the Chinese to do what's in the United States' interest. I believe the Chinese will do what's in the Chinese interest, and that isn't necessarily in the U.S. interest. So he's now he's going to represent the U.S., he's going to do what's in the U.S. interest, and ultimately that will hopefully end up with a net result of the end of the Korean War and, in fact, withdrawal of our troops there, on the 30,000 troops there on the Korean border, and hopefully a circumstance where North Korea begin to enjoy trade together, and we have we basically created more free people in North Korea while assuring this little despot's capacity to stay in power as part of the deal. But it's I think it's inevitable that if we get the nukes out and we get a peace accord in place, that North Korea will become much more open and much more free, and America will once again resume our role as the freedom makers around the world rather than those who just accept the despots and paying them off.
Boy, that was well stated. Now, I want to ask you about something that I find to be repulsive, and that is the left and the so-called actors like Robert De Niro, the so-called media people like Michelle Wolf and others and Samantha Bee, and the vile, filthy language that they use to portray their hate against this president and his administration. I have never in my lifetime, and I'm an old man, remember anybody using the filthy language like they are today.
Yeah, it's one thing that I think is valuable to this is Hollywood is opening itself up. We're seeing who these people are. We're seeing just how hateful, how un-American really they are, and it is and as a result, we sit there as consumers have choices to make about what they're going to do. The fact that at the Tony Awards that De Niro's comments got a standing ovation tells you everything you need to know about the New York theater and the theater community as a whole. And that is, they weren't saying something they thought was provocative. They're saying something amongst friends that they would say, over dinner. And so just understand, these people actively hate us. Okay? I don't know why. I'm not going to ascribe motives or any of that stuff, although I have some ideas. But they actively hate us, and they hate Trump. And they hate Trump because of a simple thing. They've had their way. They've essentially, he is a threat to the enculturation of America away from traditional norms and towards a norm which is essentially a postmodern norm, let's call it that. And he embodies the pushback against that. And so they view him as being essentially a subhuman, not enlightened like they are. And as a result, they feel free to call him whatever name they want, say whatever they want about him and his supporters. And as a result, we get to, occasionally they let us see what they're really thinking and what they really want to do. And when you see it, stop being shocked. I mean, we know this. This is not new. We get reminded of it, but this is not new. These same people didn't attack Antifa when they were beating up Trump supporters at rallies. It was justified. They called Trump a Nazi, a fascist. They called him every name in the book that you could do to try to get people to be energized against him. They're saying that if we don't stop Trump, Bill Maher just this weekend, if we don't stop, I'm rooting for a recession because if we don't stop Trump, we may not have a democratic system left. Well, I don't know what he's looking at, but we have a system right now which is freer and fairer to the vast majority of Americans than the system was under Barack Obama. He's not abusing his authority, using the DOJ and others against his enemies the way Barack Obama did. So we have guys like Bill Maher, and we've got the Samantha Pees, and we've got the Robert De Niros, who have been so enculturated into hate that they don't even know what they're talking about, and yet they think they're the enlightened ones, and that we're the ones who, in fact, are just don't know what's going on. Well, the fact is, while they're worried about Stormy Daniels, we're worried about lowering the black unemployment rate to historic lows and allowing for more people to have more opportunity, greater opportunity, because we are limiting regulations and lowering taxes. That's what Trump's doing. He cares about the actual people who have to work for a living and not these spoofs from Hollywood who last time they did something productive was when they were working with their hands trying to get a job as an actor.
Absolutely. I've got about 3 minutes left, Richard, and I wanted you to comment. And I'm going to say this, and you can disagree with me if you wish. I think the one fly in the milk right now that's going to hurt Trump going into 2020 is that somehow there better be a handle on the high fuel prices, which are escalating higher all the time. People are already suffering again on fixed incomes, trying to maintain their job and getting to and from their jobs. What about high fuel prices? Address that if you would, please.
Well, first of all, I agree with you. From a standpoint of negating the tax cut that people got on in their paycheck, high fuel prices has the greatest chance of doing that. And part of it's a supply and demand problem when you get down to it. We need, and this is not the short-term solutions are different than the long-term solutions. Let me give you what the long-term solutions are, because high prices will do this. First of all, we need to be able to build more refineries in the United States. Refineries that are able to handle the crude that's coming out of North Dakota and off the Eagle Ford Shale in Texas, rather, because that's a light, sweet crude. Our refineries are heavy, sour refineries, and without getting into oil mechanics, essentially, they're different types of oil, and you have to refine them differently. And so we don't have the capacity in the United States, at least in Texas, to refine the kind of oil that we're producing in mass. So we're having to ship that oil overseas and meanwhile import oil that fits what our refineries will do. We need to build new refinery, build at least a number of new refineries that can handle our domestic crude while still being able to handle the heavy sour. So that's the first piece of this. In high prices will create and lower environmental standards that still protect the environment, that don't impose massive costs for trying to build refinery. We'll get those refineries built and expanded. So that's one. On the short term, a lot of this is based on what's happening in the Middle East and speculation on the markets, what's happening in the Middle East. As Saudi Arabia, we've taken Saudi Arabia's side against Iran. As Saudi Arabia, this is a place where we can get Saudi Arabia to kind of override the rest of OPEC and to fill the markets with increased production, and that's where we have to be going. We have to be going to Saudi Arabia, so we need increased production. If we can get the Venezuelan government to actually get rid of Maduro in some way, shape, or form, the Venezuelan oil fields are effectively sitting fallow, and to be able to get the Venezuelan oil pumping, and secondly, the Mexican oil fields that are a disaster in terms of they've destroyed them through the socialist policy in Mexico. If we can get those oil fields working, and that should be part of NAFTA, we would have a capacity at that point to get enough oil into America to refine at a low enough cost. We'd be able to drive the world spot price down and create a positive environment for the short-term prices.
I'll tell you what, folks, we're going to have him on again next Monday, and that's, of course, Richard Manning, the president of Americans for Limited Government. He is one of the best. Thank you, Richard. God bless. Have a wonderful week. Take care of yourself.
Thanks, Bye.
All right, sir. I really enjoy having him on the air, and we are going to carry him every Monday at this time. Now, you're saying to yourself, what happened to Frosty Woldridge? Well, last week on the program, Frosty made the announcement that he's going to be gone for the summer. As a matter of fact, he may drop in here on Monday the 25th, as a matter of fact. He and his wife, Sandy, are going on a nationwide bike trip, and he said he's going to be gone for the summer, probably starting up again in September. I called Richard, and I said, Richard, how'd you like to fill that time slot? And he said, absolutely. So from back in Washington, D.C., our friend Richard Manning, and I thank very much him coming on the program this morning. We will have our next guest in just a few minutes, but right now I want to remind everybody about our friends at Ark Animal Hospital. Oh, it's more than just your dogs and your kitty cats. It's maybe your dairy cattle or your beef cattle or your horses, whatever. They are a mixed animal practice, meaning big or small, Ark Animal Hospital can take care of them all and keep them healthy. Absolutely. Dr. Bill and Dr. Jordan and all the other folks over there really care about your pets and their welfare. So please call or stop in. Ark Animal Hospital, 750 21st Street, near Connection Credit Union in Heyburn. Number to call, 678-1177. They do have the warm hearts for the cold noses. Absolutely. Don't forget, too, that on Thursdays, I get more calls over this segment. Josh, the fishing expert at Sportsman's Warehouse in Twin Falls. Every Thursday, he's out fishing someplace. This last week, he was at Salmon Falls, and this next week, I don't know where he's going to be fishing, but he calls in while he's fishing to tell us everything from be careful of the rattlesnake bites crawling through the rocks to get down to the water, or whatever the case might be. This guy's really good. Josh at Sportsman's Warehouse, and, of course, they're located at 1940 Bridgeview Boulevard in Twin Falls. Sportsman's Warehouse, bringing you the old fishing hole on Thursdays at 10:32. Don't you miss it. Want to also remind you about our friends over at Lee's Furniture, Floors and More. And we had Jeff on the phone with us last week. And I'll tell you what, Father's Day is this next weekend. Now, Dad deserves some comfort. And maybe you'd better get in there and check out all the great selection of recliners, starting from $299 and up. Oh, my goodness, all those recliners, whether you're tall or whether you're short, whether you're real skinny or maybe not, they've got a recliner that will fit you absolutely for your total comfort. So check it out today at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More for Dad's Day. Father's Day coming up this next weekend. Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More, 459 Overland in Burley. You stop in, see them today. Oh, and by the way, to all the people that sent me the emails and the letters and questions and everything, Vicky's Country Garden and our gardening program will be on tomorrow morning at 9:30. Don't forget that. Vicky's Country Garden, 185 South 600 west of Paul. Number to call, 438-5663. And she's been celebrating business for over 21 years, helping you and your gardens grow. Vicky's Country Garden. Oh, we're going to have Eddie Turner on the phone in just a moment, and I also want to take time to quickly tell you about our friends at Let's Ride. Boy, if you've got an opportunity to get into Let's Ride, they're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays 9 to 4, and they're located at 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the entire world. Let me tell you something, they've got all the four-wheelers, they've got all the side-by-sides, and they've got all the accessories, and oh my goodness, you got to get out and enjoy life. Get out of that 8x10 office and throw your arms in the air and say, let's ride. Absolutely, let's ride. As I said, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the world, and it's true. This is where the fun is sold. Right now, let's go to the phone line, and we have with us a man that is the leadership man, and he is, of course, the leadership accelerator. Eddie Turner, hello, sir. How are you?
Hello, Zeb. It's a pleasure to be with you and your audience. Thank you for having me.
Well, you're very welcome, sir. And again, Wheels over at the main studio. Watch that feedback on the line a little bit, if you would, please. Eddie, tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, what you represent, because quite frankly, I don't know as much as I should. Take a minute and give us a thumbnail sketch.
Well, sure. I'm happy to do that. In a nutshell, I work with leaders to accelerate performance and drive impact. I do that in primarily three ways, either one-on-one through executive or leadership coaching, or in larger groups through facilitating strategic planning sessions and issue resolution process mapping for leaders, and then in larger context by professional speaking.
Okay. Now, Eddie, let me ask you this then. Let's get right to the crux of the matter. What are your thoughts as a leadership accelerator about our President Donald Trump and his leadership abilities? You and I might waver a little bit on this. I'd like to hear your points of view.
Well, as I look at what our president is trying to do, I always look at things through the apolitical perspective, meaning that I don't really look at it from a side, but rather what is the leadership lesson to be learned? And if we're looking at the pressing issues before us right now, what just took place here at the G7, and what pretends before us this evening, U.S. time, and tomorrow morning in Singapore, where we're hoping to see movement on the issue between North Korea and the world, quite frankly. U.S. through President Donald Trump is taking the lead on this. We're looking to see some movement on that in a positive direction.
Okay, I agree with everything you said there, but I had a feeling from some of the things I read about you, Eddie, that maybe you don't like Trump and his brashness and his straightforward, in-your-face attitude. Tell me, be more honest and more open about that.
Well, I'm not sure what you read about me, because I don't think there's anything about me that says that. But again, I look at it from a leadership perspective. So when I would look at our president, if I were his executive coach, I would say to him that people are looking for three things from leaders. They're looking for protection, they're looking for order, and they're looking for direction. And so in the efforts that are being taken with the U.S. tariffs that he's recently imposed, and the discussions that he's going to have with Kim Jong-un, His goal that he has expressed is protecting the U.S. Through the tariff relationship, protecting the U.S. through getting control of nuclear weaponry in North Korea through disarmament. But now the question might be asked, is this the best approach? Well, history will tell, and certainly people on both sides of the aisle have an opinion on that. The other goal would be order. Well, his express goal is that by taking the steps he's taken, he's going to put order in the world through the nuclear disarmament, put order to the way trade is happening in the U.S. through the most recent actions. And then finally, through direction. Certainly he feels that his steps, he's setting the direction. He's taking control of the narrative. And so again, in these three areas, I think this is what every leader needs to be looking at. And certainly it's debatable as to whether these are positive steps or negative steps that have been taken.
That was very well stated. And Eddie, my feeling is this. We have seen the Bush leadership. We've seen the Clinton leadership. I'm talking about presidents of recent times. And we saw the devastating and, quite frankly, I think hurtful effects of the Obama administration with a lack of leadership. I like the idea of a new sheriff in town. I like the idea of a Matt Dillon attitude and Gunsmoke. I like the idea of looking somebody in the eye and saying, no, we're not going to have tariffs with a 300% difference in your favor. It's going to be fair trade and free trade, or we're not going to have any trade. I like that attitude.
Well, certainly there are a lot of people that share your sentiments, and I think that we'll have to kind of see, how does this portend on the world stage? Do we benefit by leveraging these tariffs? What does this do to our long-standing relationships that we've had, quite frankly, since the end of World War II, where the United States has taken a leadership role in establishing peace and security on the earth, and in a way that, quite frankly, has benefited the U.S. more than any of the other countries, that were represented there at the G7 summit. So time will tell.
What would you, if you had a sit down with President Trump and his advisors, if you had maybe 10-minute interview with him in his room, the Oval Office, what would you tell him as far as what you think he needs to do to brush up on to be perhaps a better leader for the United States?
Well, I would point back to the three items I said earlier, protection, direction, and order, and examine both sides of that. So he has his expressed view on those three particular areas, and then I would encourage him, as I do any leader, to always look at the other side. Is it perhaps possible, just to explore the possibility, that the other side just might be right? And then I always do an exercise where we explore, if they're right, what could that look like? And kind of walk through that. Because sometimes what I have seen in any leader is that we like to talk to people who agree with us. And in organizational leadership, we call that groupthink.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem with groupthink is we don't always surface the best ideas. And I believe that any leader has to be open to other ideas, because if they're wrong, there's a consequence for that.
Absolutely.
And every leader, as every company, needs to be thinking about disruption. We think about organizations that were not thinking outside of the box or listening to people with great ideas. And then disruption occurred. You look at an organization like Kodak. Kodak had the patent for digital photography. But their engineers who were telling the leadership, hey, we should really exploit this. The leadership of Kodak said, no, we don't want to do anything with that. Stop talking about it. We're making a lot of money off of this film that has to be developed. People pay for this. They're not going to pay for digital photography. That's going to be free. Well, of course, what has put Kodak out of business? Digital photography.
Absolutely.
They own the patent on. So in bankruptcy court, their most precious asset was their pool of patents, and that was one of them. So they did not listen to the people inside their own organization who saw things differently, and that would not only have saved the corporation, but perhaps driven it to new heights. So I use that corporate example to say what I would say to President Trump and as I say to other leaders. Just explore for a moment the possibility that the other side may have an argument worth listening to.
You know, what you just said, though, and I've talked to many people that have been advisors to Donald Trump and have been in the room with him and talked to him. Some of them have come forward on this program and said that he is a very good listener, an astute listener, and pays attention to the facts. Do you have anything different that you'd like to report on, or do you see the same discernment of whether his listening abilities are good, bad, or indifferent?
Well, you no doubt have spoken to people that have a vantage point I don't have. I haven't had the opportunity to sit down with them and observe that, so I can't comment on that from a first-hand perspective.
You know, let me ask you this, though, because of your abilities to, let's say, discern and possibly even teach leadership. What about the youth of today? I'm very concerned. I'm an old man, and I really am concerned about a lack of respect, a lack of caring, and quite frankly, the lack, I think, on the millennial age bracket to be good leaders for the future. Am I wrong?
Well, certainly that is a concern that many have expressed. For the first time ever, we have 5 generations in the workforce. That's never occurred before. So when you have 5 generations, you have different viewpoints, different attitudes about something as simple as what does it mean to even be a hard worker, right? And so I actually have a book coming out in about a month or so that actually addresses emerging leaders. I just had a conversation with a friend of mine because when I was talking about it, he was thinking of emerging leaders only as your traditional maybe 30 or 40-year-old who's getting ready to take that new high-level position in organizations they've been identified as high potentials. And I said to him, no, that's actually a part of my audience, but my more bigger target is a new generation of people that I think that label should be applied to who historically we have not, and that is the millennials. That is Generation Z that's coming up behind them and entering the workforce. We need to look at them as emerging leaders and start to treat them as such so that if we can bend the arc early, we don't have to undo so many things when they get to later 30s and 40s because they have all these bad habits. And so certainly to your point, this attitude about how you treat elders, what is the view of hard work, what are some of the things that built our society to what it has become, the strength of America over the many, many years. Those are lessons that we have to build into our emerging leaders, and we need to start early.
Let me ask you this, Eddie, and this is, again, my feeling on this. Not everybody is going to be the quarterback calling the plays in the huddle. Not everybody is going to be the point guard directing the forwards where to cross over the lane and possibly get the pass. Not everybody is going to be a leader, but in our society today of liberalism where everybody gets a ribbon and a trophy, how are you going to teach to be a leader when they're all supposedly winners?
I start by talking about what a leader really is. Too many people have been taught, and this is a point I actually mentioned in my book as well, that a leader is the person with a specific title, that the CEO, the manager, the director, the parent, the pastor, that these are leaders. And certainly, by dictionary definition, anyone who simply takes the lead, changes the conversation, or has a title, they are a leader. However, there's a difference between leadership and influence. And I submit that anyone who exercises the power of influence is a leader. For example, history is replete with examples of people, both in society and inside corporations, that do not have a leadership title at all. But they decide to take a step of exercising influence that changes the trajectory of history, changes the trajectory of corporations without even having a title. And through the use of influence, they eventually earn a title in an organization. Someone says, you know what? You should be the supervisor. You should be the manager. And then I tell leaders, when I'm working with leaders, that influence is not just a powerful tool in the hands of those who don't have a title or who have not been seen as having a leadership capacity. Even when you have a title and you are the CEO, you are the parent, you are the professor, you still need to exercise the power of influence. Because going back to what you mentioned earlier, too many times people aren't going to listen to you just because you're the supervisor, just because you're the parent, right?
Right.
Today, people challenge authority. So through the use of influence, you still you can still lead, even when you have the title, you still need to use influence. And quite frankly, it's a more sustainable form of leadership because it's the form of leadership where people will willingly do what you've asked. They will willingly follow you long after you're not looking, long after you're not around. And in the best examples, even long after you are no longer on the world scene.
Eddie, tell us a little bit about the book. Now, when is it coming out and where can it be found? Give us that information, please.
It'll be available on Kindle, hard copy, and soft copy late July, first week in August at the latest. That's what we're targeting. And it's simply entitled 140 Simple Messages to Guide Emerging Leaders. It's meant to take advantage of the zeitgeist, the prevailing attitude of the time, where everybody's using Twitter. So they're Twitter-linked messages that I believe are very compelling. They make a point, and they have the attention span of our emerging leaders who don't necessarily want to read a full scholarly resource.
I tell you what, I like you, Eddie, and I'm going to invite you back if you'll consent to come back on the program. Eddie Turner, the Leadership Accelerator, thank you. Very well done this morning. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
You bet, sir. Thank you very much. Nice man. And contrary to some of the things that there again, you can't prejudge because I heard some things, read some things. Very, very nice man, sharp man, Eddie Turner, the Leadership Accelerator. Thank you. And he's got that new book coming out. We better have a weather forecast on here. Oh, there again, I knocked over all the papers. I have a tendency to make a mess here. Our weather this hour is brought to you by Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. And they have been providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for well over 50 years. What can they do to help you, your family, and your business? Well, just some of the things and some of the items: tax return preparation, tax planning, business consulting, bookkeeping services, retirement planning, all of this and so much more. They are the professionals, and they can and they will help you. They've got offices in Burley and Rupert serving you. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
It's going to be another beautiful day as we kick off another work week here at Zebeth Ranch. We are looking at sunny skies for today. Expecting a high of 70, but it is going to be breezy. Winds out of the west, right around 10 miles an hour. Increasing by the afternoon, and gusts possible as high as 30 miles an hour. We are in a frost advisory for this evening and into the overnight areas. So if you have some tender vegetables outside, you might want to cover those up. Clear skies for tonight and a low of 40. Still going to be breezy, and that's going to contribute to the frost factor. For tomorrow, sunny skies, expecting a high of 78. Clear skies for tomorrow night with a low of 50. By Wednesday, sunny skies and getting up to 90 degrees. Mostly clear for Wednesday night with a low of 55. By Thursday, sunny and 80 and cooling off to 78 for Friday. That's your weather for Zebeth Ranch.
Oh, Gina, thank you. Thank you for that very good weather forecast brought to you by Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. And they can help all kinds of folks. They can help people starting a business or maybe a corporation or wanting to expand their business. Please call them today. They will help you. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company with offices in Burley and Rupert. You know, I got to tell you, Saturday, we were up in Meridian, Nampa area, and about noon up there on Saturday, the wind just started howling, and the temperature went from a very muggy in the mid-80s down to about the 60s. Just like that. Holy moly, we all ran for some jackets and everything. It got chilly, and then it followed us down here. And I heard last night on some of the news and weather forecasts that they were even expecting snow last night and tonight in the higher elevations. Let me check the calendar. What does it say? Oh, June 11th. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'd really like to hear from you, so give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. On a personal note, when I'm wrong, I am going to tell you I was wrong, and I was dead wrong over Justify, the thoroughbred. I said last week I didn't think there was a snowball's chance in the oven that Justify would become the Triple Crown winner. Woo! Was old Zebra wrong? I looked at the previous races, the Preakness, and then I looked at also the Kentucky Derby. And I said, no, the horse, I don't think at that longer distance at the Belmont Stakes is going to have the gas. Dum, da-dum, dum. Boy, did I make a mistake. We have a brand new Triple Crown winner in Justify, and that colt looked phenomenal. Phenomenal is the best way to say it. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Hey there, Mr. Bell.
Yes, sir.
I would like to ask you a question. Can I wish somebody a happy birthday? That's one of your callers calls you quite often.
Well, I would be really kind of an ugly American if I said no. I mean, my goodness sakes, go ahead.
Well, I'd like to wish Riley a good happy birthday.
Well, you know, he is one of our ardent callers, and I appreciate that. Today's his birthday, so if he's listening and he's not already on a horse gathering cattle out there, we'll say, Riley, happy birthday to you and many more. How's that?
Sounds good to me.
I appreciate your call, sir. Thank you very much. That was nice of you.
Thank you very much.
You
Bye.
bet, sir. Thank you. That was nice. And we have a lot of birthday wishes we give out on the air. And when somebody cares that much about somebody else to give those wishes, I really respect that. Let me see. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. While I'm waiting for your call, I can see you dialing that phone right now, so give me a jingle. I want to remind you about Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. They really, really, really care about the protection for your life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits. They are so dedicated and accessible and devoted to serving others. All you need to do is literally just pick up the phone and call them at 436-4424 and make an appointment today. Absolutely. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. You call them today. All right, your turn, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Thursday, while I'm waiting for your call, Thursday is Flag Day. And Wheels, quickly get on the air. You got your headsets on, so I know you can hear me. Are you there?
Yes, sir, I am.
Attaboy. Now, did you do the project that I asked you for on Thursday?
I did. I got all of them figured out and everything, and they should be ready to go for Thursday.
Okay, now tomorrow before you sign on with me in the morning, we'll go over that list. But the reason I wanted to say this, Wheels has been very instrumental in helping me. We're going to do something a little different on Thursday morning. It's Flag Day, and thanks to his help, we're going to be talking about some of the musical renditions that have been recorded about our flag and about our Constitution and about Americanism, and we're going to do that in the first hour on Thursday. So, Wheels, we thank you for all of your help.
Well, you're welcome. I know that some of them are going to be instrumentals and not really have any vocals, but I pretty much found everything that I needed to, so
right.
Thank you for giving me some ideas and for me being able to have something to go off of, so that worked out pretty well.
Good man. Excuse me, Wheels. Appreciate your help. Thank you very, very much.
You're welcome.
That's going to be Thursday, Flag Day, and I urge everybody, every business, everybody to fly the American flag on Thursday, Flag Day. No excuses. And if you want to just put your yard full of red, white, and blue, or all over your house, or all over your garage, more power to you. Don't worry about any criticism, okay? One thing I want to remind you that right around the corner is the 4th of July. Holy moly! And I forgot to mention this earlier. But everyone is invited to the 4th of July Veterans Breakfast that's going to be held at Hanson Mortuary on the 4th, starting at 8 in the morning before the big parade on the square in Rupert. They're going to have absolutely some delicious food, bacon and cheese, potatoes and crepes, and this kind of a tradition started many years ago, and that's going to be our thanks to the Heward family for what they do to honor all our veterans and everyone in the area. It's going to be on 4th of July at Hanson Mortuary in Rupert. All right, give me a call. Excuse me, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'd like to hear from you, so give me a call on the landline. And just a little reminder that tonight we should have almost a complete recap. Oop, we got a call. We'll go through that right now before I go to the news. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. I understand that I believe it's Bavaria that is closing down all its mosques.
Okay.
I heard that over the news. I was just wondering if you had any information on it.
That's one story I didn't cover this morning, and I did not pull it off the web of all the stories that I read through this morning. And give us, real quick, Tony, I've got about a minute left, but give us a thumbnail sketch of what you heard about this.
Well, what I heard is they're having, before they have an outbreak of what's going on in other countries, they're going to put a stop to it, so they're shutting down the mosques. And they may be, far as I surmise, they may be getting rid of the Muslims that are running the mosques.
And that's over in Bavaria, you said, right?
I believe it was Bavaria, yeah.
There is a lot of scrutiny as to what's going on within the walls of mosques all over the world, and a lot of turmoil and a lot of possible terror planning, and I think it's about high time that there were more investigations and more scrutiny. Tony, you called in late this morning. That means you must have overslept on a Monday morning.
No, I'm mowing lawns and picking up meadow muffins.
Oh, you're still walking the dogs, huh? Have a good day, Tony. God bless you, man. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. We're going to run to the news right now from CBS, Meadow Muffins. And that's comparable to what we're talking about with CBS News. Anyway, we're going to be back in about 7 minutes. Don't go away. Zeb at the Ranch. Well. Good morning on a Monday, and by golly, I'll tell you what, I'm just absolutely enjoying the great weekend that we had. Still, I'm thinking about all the fun times we had with my family. I hope you enjoyed your weekend also. But we're back in the saddle this morning and rolling into hour number 3. Zeb at the Ranch, of course, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And, of course, don't forget Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, one of our great advertisers at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. I tell you what, it's fun time, summertime, because the Rupert 4th of July has their set on all the different fun activities during June 30th all the way to July 8th. The theme of the Rupert 4th of July celebration this year, America, Let's Celebrate. It's going to be starting on June 30th, and they're going to have the Christmas lighting breakfast in the square. They're going to have food booths on the square, and then Sunday, of course, the July 1st horse races at the fairgrounds, patriotic program, and then don't forget on Monday the annual mutton busting competition at the Minnedoka County Fairgrounds. The list of fun just absolutely continues. I'm going to highlight everything during the course of the next few days for the Rupert 4th of July celebration with the theme again, America, Let's Celebrate It. Put it on your calendar, the Rupert 4th of July celebration. Right now, I'm very honored to have this next lady on our program this morning, and I'm going to read some of her accolades. She's a spokesperson for Men's Rights Edmonton and a contributor to avoiceformen.com. Oh, we've got to hear her. Karen Strong, good morning this morning. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing all right. How are you?
Well, I'm pretty good, and it's about high time that we had somebody like you on the program that's going to speak up for us poor, lowly, hated, detestable men. That seems to be the key right now.
Oh yeah, no, I'm actually just before this this spot on your show, I was reading a Washington Post article that the headline is "Why Can't We Hate Men?" And I'm just blown away by the level of, like, there is, like, literally in this woman's mind, and she's a university professor, there's nothing good whatsoever about men. She's essentially, her final paragraph is demanding that men lean out so that women can finally stand without being crushed and pushed down and suppressed and repressed and all of this stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, like, do you even realize who fixes your power lines when your power goes out? Because it ain't women.
You know, Karen, let me ask you this. If the role was reversed and it was the men saying that they hated women, all heck would break loose.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It would be like a national emergency. They'd call in FEMA and the National Guard, and there would be like Secret Service agents and the FBI trying to track down the person who wrote that horrible diatribe of hate against women. You know, one of the things that I've realized in my because in my research, you go back through history and you realize that women were never ever only hearing good things about men. I mean, there were plenty of things that the culture acknowledged about men that were harmful, detrimental, that, you know, men had certain flaws, that, you know, you needed to try to raise them in a way that they could constructively apply certain aspects of their nature and for the benefit of society rather than to the detriment of it. So, I mean, like, there really was sort of a balanced view of each of the sexes as embodying certain flaws and certain virtues. And what seems to be the case now is that all of the masculine virtues have been redefined as gender neutral. Essentially, all you're left with are the flaws, and those are uniquely masculine. So men are essentially all bad. And it's just so sad because, you know, to me, men are probably like the biggest resource we have at our disposal in terms of just getting things done and the level to which they're able to cooperate and achieve things. Pretty much everything you look at around you was in some substantial way put there by a man. It was either manufactured by a man, or it was invented by a man, or it was installed by a man, right? So, you know, we're really spitting in the face of the people who build the world around us and make us comfortable and safe and all of those things. I just find it so sad and so ridiculous that this kind of thing is allowed to be spoken of half the population, and not just men now. They're trying to essentially, have middle school boys stand up in assemblies and take responsibility for violence against women. And
oh my goodness,
it's kind of gross.
Let me ask you this, Karen, and I like you already. I've never had you on this program. I hope you'll come back, but I want to ask you this question. Who was it that passed out the shovels to bury the John Wayne attitude in this country?
Oh, that was definitely feminism. Feminism it has evolved over time. It wasn't the same back in the 1850s, 1848 and on as it is now. But it's been a general progression since the Declaration of Sentiments in 1848, which was essentially a declaration of gender war against men, and a collective assignment of blame to men for all of women's problems and woes and difficulties. It really is feminism that has decided that, I guess because our lives are so comfortable, you flip a switch and the lights come on, and you turn on a vacuum cleaner. You don't have to drag your rugs out and hang them over a line and beat them with a carpet beater anymore. You don't have to do your laundry in a cauldron over a wood stove and then, run it through a laundry mangle and hang it out to dry. Like women's lives have become so easy, and so much of what is delivered to us by men is really invisible to us. The electricity that men almost exclusively provide to us, the flushing toilets, and then the waste goes away. It's carried away in a sewer system. That's maintained by men, but we don't see them. And so the more cushy our lives become, and the more invisible men become, they're sort of off doing their work in the sewers or in the electricity plant or wherever, not right here in our backyard chopping wood. We have, I guess, the feminist movement has been able to convince people that men are unnecessary, they're obsolete, we don't need them, and so they have been able to focus our attention on how men harm us, or harm society, and there are harms that men do, but all of our attention is focused on that, and none of it is focused on what men provide for us that's beneficial.
But really, this whole argument is so unnecessary and really a waste of time. If men would be men and women would be women, and there was a gentlemanly attitude towards the fairer and, I'll say, weaker sex, I think the whole society would go back to the cover of the Saturday Evening Post with respect for each other. Do you think I'm wrong?
Well, I don't think you're wrong. One of the things that gets me is that, the government has really stepped in to mediate relationships between men and women. When you sign a marriage contract, you're not signing a contract with a woman, you as a man. You're signing a contract with the government, and it's a blank piece of paper. It's a blank legally binding contract, the terms of which will be decided by a third party upon its dissolution, right? So what you get is what we have right now is women have the illusion that they're not dependent on men because they have this middleman in the form of government that takes money and resources and all of that from men in the form of taxes and child support and legally enforced family maintenance and all of those things, and hands it to women. And so what you have really is sort of this evolution over the last 100 years or so of people getting in the middle, in between men and women, and also this sort of push towards placing men and women in competition with each other. And I don't think that's ever been a way that men have viewed women. Men have never really viewed women as their competitors. But women have been increasingly indoctrinated, I guess, into seeing men as their rivals, as their competitors, as direct competitors. And that just has fostered this huge amount of animosity, particularly between sort of directed from the sort of the female side of the public discourse, the feminist side, toward men, and it really has shaken things up and made things difficult for everybody. Women are no more happy than they were in the 1960s. In fact, they're less happy than they were back then. So,
let me ask you this part of the equation as far as entertainers, if you want to call them that, and the slovenly, filthy language that they're using today. I'm no prude. I've been to a couple of county fairs and a horse show, but I guarantee you I've never heard women use language like they're using in the media now. And also, I will say on the liberal left, men also, like Robert De Niro and his comments that he made over the weekend at the Tony Awards. Why is the left so prone to using filthy language more so today than ever before?
Well, I'm one of those people. I have a little bit of a sailor's tongue myself, right? But I generally use foul language to humorous effect, rather than as an expression of vitriolic anger or whatever. I always find that being extremely courteous and cutting is much more effective in dealing with somebody, a hostile party. But yeah, I think that really the hostility is, and the emotionality of what they're doing is really all they have. As somebody who's been advocating for men's rights and men's issues and to raise awareness for all of those things, and who is vehemently opposed to feminism for the last 9 years or so, what I have found is that the other side does not generally bring an argument. That what they bring is just slurs.
Mm-hmm.
So you can slurs and sloganeering. So they'll take 5 seconds to chant some slogan and punctuate it with the F word, and then you have to spend. It's kind of like they have a fire hose, and they spend about 5 seconds. Dispensing excrement with it all over the place, all over the walls. And then you have to spend about 2 minutes of detailed argumentation to clean it up. They don't have an argument. They've forgotten how to make an argument. They've been in control for so long in terms of media and government and the sort of the upper echelons of power and I guess you could call it the opinion makers of society, that they feel that they don't need to learn how to make an argument, and they don't even often know what their arguments actually are. So all they're left with is profanity and ad hominem attacks and insults and slurs.
You know, Karen, when you look back, and we were talking about this in the first hour this morning of my open forum, and you talk about some of the people that were in the public eye back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, etc., the John Waynes and perhaps the James Stewarts or the Donna Reeds or people like that. They would not put themselves, and they never did, as far as I know from research, ever put themselves in the public eye with filthy language like today's so-called entertainers are.
Yeah, I don't really, like I said, I don't really mind bad language as long as it's part of an actual argument.
Right.
What I've seen from the left and from celebrities, and you had the celebrities who were saying, whatever you do, don't vote for Trump. And then you had the celebrities saying, we need to impeach Trump, and Trump is the devil, and Trump is Hitler, and all of this, right? On the one hand, I really don't mind the use of profanity. It can be actually a kind of poetry if you use it skillfully. But they're just using it as a way of lashing out, and it's really because they don't. They're so infuriated and they're so incensed that they didn't get their way at this last election, in the U.S. and they don't have any other response to that. They will not engage in any kind of self-reflection. I've said over and over again, to sort of in public, the left, the Democrats, they should just wait it out. Just wait it out and spend the 4 years developing a platform that people will be attracted to and selecting candidates that they'll actually want to vote for. That's all you have to do. Trump isn't going to ruin the entire world. We're not going to have a global apocalypse because of Trump over 4 years. Do better, right? Try to appeal to the people that you've lost, because they have lost so many people that they claimed at one point to be, speaking for the working class, the working poor. Those used to be, sort of the plantation, I guess, of the Democratic voter base, and they've lost the white working class. They've lost the white working poor. They've lost a lot of people of color. And it's just essentially because they're playing the wrong game, and they're not giving anything substantive. They're not giving anything of value. They're not promising anything of value to these people.
Right.
And so work on yourselves. Stop trying, this obsession with trying to impeach Trump it just seems bizarre to me. Just relax, chill out, take the 4 years to better yourselves, and come back, rise from the ashes like that. That's what I would do.
We have a caller with
They won't do it.
We have a caller with a question quickly, and I'm almost out of time. Caller, go ahead real fast, please.
Well, the left is, they don't have any plays left in the playbook. And as they watch all their work that was accomplished since Hitler ran the deviants out of Europe and they came into America and thought they were going to change it, and they did. They slowly but surely did. And as they watch as what they thought they had so much accomplished, Trump is shredding it, and the American people that love Trump and voted for Trump, and I think there's tons of people that voted for Trump who would never admit it to anybody. But the left's out of place, and their foul, filthy, procedures, it offends me to no end. And, my children, my grandchildren, should never have to listen to these degenerates. I'll hang up.
Respond to the caller quickly, if you would, Karen. Thank you.
Well, honestly, they don't. The left was really, I would say that politically in the U.S., in political office, it's been sort of half and half. But the entirety of the media, I would guess probably 80% of media in the U.S. is left of center. And a lot of it is extreme far left. And I think that they've been sort of sitting pretty in a position of power in an ivory tower, isolated from the reality of ordinary people, and they have spent that time, and it's the most bizarre thing, they've spent that time balkanizing their own side by essentially splitting identity groups within the left into, all of these different racial and ethnic and sexuality and all of these different categories. And they're all eating each other right now. And so, what I see happening more and more is just a resurgence of right-leaning thought, a resurgence of conservatism, and that doesn't necessarily even mean going back to the 1950s. It means, let's slow down, let's slow down progress, maybe even take a couple steps back, because what I think even young people are seeing now is actually quite, they can see something coming that isn't going to be good in terms of what the left has been doing over the last 10, 15 years.
When you have hosts on television, real quick, I've got about a minute and a half left here, the likes of, let's say, Joy Behar or Whoopi Goldberg, etc., that absolutely seem every day that they want to stir up dissension and have the name-calling effect go to various people on the conservative side. How are you going to combat that when the media sides with them and denigrates and belittles anybody that has a conservative family thought?
Well, I don't know that there's a way to bridge things at this point. Things have gotten extremely polarized over the last, 5 or 6 years between the left and the right. And it's been polarizing as well in terms of, the right wing. You have the alt-right. So we're getting this extreme far right. It started in Europe. It's happening in the U.S., even in Canada. So as a response to the extremities of the left, of leftist thought and leftist advocacy. So I don't know. Things are pulling apart, and there really doesn't seem to be much of a center anymore. So I guess maybe centrist voices really need to come out and try to bridge the gap, and that's a difficult chore to do, given that moderates are less vocal about their opinions, in particular because they're moderate. So essentially, I'm not sure how we're going to solve this. Social media certainly doesn't help, but I think the next maybe 5 years are going to be really, really interesting in the political landscape for sure.
Absolutely. Karen Strawn, absolutely you have to come back. I've really enjoyed this. She's a spokesperson for men's rights up in Edmonton and a contributor to avoiceformen.com. Thank you, Karen. Have a wonderful day and a great summer, and we'll have you back. Thank you.
You too.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed her on the program, and I always categorize and save the people I want to have back, and she is one of the people I'm going to have back. I also want to mention to you, while I have just a moment, that on Thursdays we have a segment called Cassia County School Days, and we're very, very thankful to our two wonderful sponsors, A Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley. Don't forget, you can spend $25 and choose a free book, and they've got summer clothes that are 20% off. That's right. You can save money. It's a family store, and they've got everything for you and your family. You stop in and check it out today. A Child's World, excuse me, at 1308 Overland in Burley, along with Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland in Burley, and life-saving colonoscopies from a board-certified physician, and arthroscopic knee surgeries, all of this and so much more, and they can save you money. Please check it out today. Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland in Burley, 677-8888. Along with A Child's World, bringing you school days in Cassia County on Thursdays right here at Zeb at the Ranch at 10:10. Right now, we're going to send it back over to good old Wheels at the main studio. We'll be back in about 3 or 4 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Oh, thank you. We're in our last half hour, and I'm very, very honored to have this man back on my program again. His name is Gregory Wrightstone, and he is the author of The Inconvenient Facts, the Science that Al Gore doesn't want you to know. Good morning, Greg. How are you this morning?
Hi, Zeb. How are things on the ranch?
Well, I'll tell you what, we're doing great, except for the worries that we have about high fuel and high energy prices. And a lot of it I blame on people that are sticking their toe in the water of the unknown, and they don't belong there, i.e. the Pope. I think it's time he stayed with the Bible and left climate change and energy alone.
Yeah, you're referring to his confab he had over the weekend with executives from oil company and large investment firms to lecture them on how they would need to wean themselves off of their what they're actually selling and marketing. So I compared it to Colonel Sanders meeting with PETA. And if they didn't if those oil company executives from Exxon and Chevron and the large investment firm BlackRock, it kind of felt like they were bringing the rope to their own hanging. And it just... It baffles. I think the companies are just trying to engender goodwill and get some good press out of it. But the Pope, as you know, I think you've read my op-ed that was published over the weekend.
Yes.
The Pope has it exactly wrong. He professes to care about the poor, and I'm sure he does. I'm not questioning the Pope's motives. I think his motives are good, but I think he's misguided. His own philosophy and what he wants us to do, moving away from fossil fuels, reliable, inexpensive fossil fuels, towards intermittent and expensive green energy solutions like solar and wind, will actually punish the poor more than anyone else. Because in the developing world, as you know and your listeners know, the poor pay a disproportionately large amount of their incomes to pay for energy. And with rising energy costs, which would necessarily have to follow his proposals of more green energy, it would hurt the poorest the worst. And then we just go look at the undeveloped worlds. 1 billion, that's 1 billion with a B, 1 billion people on Earth don't have access to electricity.
You know,
another 2 billion have very limited access to other energy sources.
Right.
So there's what he's proposing is actually going to destine the poorest among us to generations of continuing poverty, and that's just he's got it all wrong.
I live in a very big farming and agricultural area. I think the Magic Valley area of southern Idaho is comparable and not that far away from the beautiful San Joaquin Valley in California for food production and agricultural progress. And for a pope or anyone to say, well, we've got to move away from fossil fuels, we've got to stop this, we've got to cut this back. Where in the world are we going to feed the masses because John Deere tractors do not run with a propeller pushing them down the furrows?
Right. Your local farmers aren't going to want to get behind Bessie the mule to till those acres of land, nor can we find the people who want to do it. I wouldn't want to do it. I get through about a half a day on that, and I give it up. But you're right; it's fossil fuels have allowed us to prosper and flourish. And as you know, we've talked before. In my book, I cover the overarching theme of the book is that actually the rising temperatures that we're seeing and the increases in CO2 are having a beneficial effect on the Earth's ecosystems, and in relation on humanity. The Earth is greening, it's flourishing, it's thriving. We're not diving into some climate hell due to our sins of emission of carbon dioxide. Rather, carbon dioxide is fueling a worldwide greening and thriving of the ecosystems. And it's a huge, huge untold story, or actually misreported story in the press. That this is a story that really needs to be told of a thriving Earth based on what we're doing.
You know, and Gregory, just this weekend in Sunday's edition yesterday here, our local newspaper, the Times News, ran about 3 or 4 big articles about the future of renewable energy, the future of climate change, and what's going to happen if we don't switch to wind and solar. You know what? People don't realize not only the aesthetic disvaluing of our environment, but also the extreme costs. It's going to cost everybody a lot more money, isn't it?
It is. And I had a published op-ed last week. I don't know if you saw it. It was on wind energy. I'm here in Pennsylvania, in western Pennsylvania, and the Pennsylvania Game Commission controls millions of acres that they hold, the state owns for wildlife and hunting. Pennsylvania has the highest number of registered hunting licenses issued every year, and it's an important commission there controlling this acreage. They voted 2 weeks ago to ban wind energy on any state game lands, and that includes 300,000 acres of prime identified large development for wind energy. These are the high mountaintops in the mostly eastern Pennsylvania. The commission voted to ban it in perpetuity, and they've entertained many bids over the years, many offers, and have turned them all down. They just decided they stated that there's no way that any wind energy prospect or project can ever meet what their goals are, and that's to protect the wildlife and to protect the environment and provide hunting for the hunters that we have here. Because these wind turbines, it turns, are dangerous. We live in your area, in our area, in the north. We see ice accumulation on the blades, and those things they can throw ice hundreds of yards.
Mm-hmm.
These things are dangerous.
That's right.
And also there's a huge exclusion area around each wind turbine that would be off limits to anybody because of the danger.
We have a caller with a question for you, Gregory. Stand by. Caller, real quick, please. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Yesterday I was driving home, Gregory, and I noticed that there was no wind. And a whole row of turbines was running. They were running, and it looked like they were running faster than they should have ever been because there was no wind. And this is just down the road from where Zeb lives. And then the next row, they were all off. And I guarantee you, I know what I saw. And I'm going, are they running those on purpose to make it? Who the hell knows what's going on with this? And then I want you to verify this claim. There are 15 to 20,000 of these turbines broke down across the United States because nobody can figure out how to fix them because they're not worth fixing. I'll hang up.
Respond to the caller, if you would, please, Greg. Thank you.
Yeah. And actually, he's correct. I don't know about the specific instance. If your viewers are near a computer, they can Google Great Britain wind, and they'll come up and they'll find out that Great Britain's huge investment in wind, they've gone 9 days now with no wind in Great Britain. All of their wind energy has been shut down. And the headline is that the forecasters predict another 2 weeks. Well, that's not a very reliable source of energy, if you ask me. What we need, and it's expensive, what we need is reliable, inexpensive energy, and that comes from 3 sources. What are they? Nuclear, hydroelectric, and fossil fuels. Those 3. And you know that the environmentalists hate nuclear, and there's no way we're going to build any more dams in the United States for hydroelectric. That leaves us with fossil fuels. And they're demonizing that. So, yeah, I mean, Great Britain has gone 9 days with no electricity generated from their huge investment and subsidization of wind energy. And actually, last week was a really, really bad week for wind energy, because in addition to that report out of Great Britain, China announced that they were slashing their subsidies for wind turbines and wind energy. And they're one of the biggest users and proponents of wind energy, believe it or not.
You know, Gregory...
They're slashing their subsidies, which tanked the stocks of these wind energy turbine companies.
Absolutely. Gregory, why can't leaders sit down with us common folk and just understand whether it's agriculture, whether it's transportation, whether it's electricity? It doesn't make any difference. The transition to a very unpredictable and subject to change daily energy source like solar and wind, it just ain't gonna float the boat.
No, it's not. Well, the leaders, they get demonized pretty quickly. People like Scott Pruitt, Ryan Zinke from Interior. I think he's out your way, isn't he?
Yes.
And Donald Trump, they're demonized when they speak up and out against climate change. I just got in fact, speaking of Scott Pruitt, I just got a letter in the mail from Scott Pruitt, thanking me for sending him a copy of the book. And I want to read you something. He says, I am honored to lead the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency as we work to protect, here's where it gets good, as we work to protect God's creation and act as his stewards. So he read the book. This is not a form letter. There's no way that a form letter goes out from the EPA talking about God's creation and then having his stewards with his being capitalized with an H. Thanking me for the book that I sent him. So we've got good people in charge that are leading the way. They just need to stand firm and not backtrack, not be cowed by the avalanche of criticism that they get. I know what it's like. I get it every day, but that's all right. You know, I know what's right, and I know what I need to talk about.
Absolutely.
The truth, the facts, the science. And that's what we want you and your listeners to understand about this.
Absolutely. We have a caller with another question. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
I read somewhere where on one windmill, like a 2-megawatt windmill, contains 260 tons of steel. It requires 170 tons of cooking coal and 300 tons of iron ore, all mined and transported by your hydrocarbons, your fossil fuels. How long would that windmill have to go before it could be profitable? I'll go ahead and hang up.
That's a very good question. Gregory, please.
Yeah, I can't respond to any of the details. He's right. There's just the construction of these things, the mining of the rare earth minerals that are required mainly for solar energy, but also with the wind energy. These are all harmful environmental impacts. And if I'll go back to the Pennsylvania Game Commission, one of the things they really disliked were, if you can imagine, it might be a little flatter out where you are, but in Pennsylvania, across the game lands, these things are while they're not Rocky Mountain type mountains, it's pretty mountainous terrain. They have to build very large crushed rock roads. If you can imagine, you have to use these huge trucks to bring these wind turbines and haul them in. So you'd have to have huge roads. That's just another downside to these things. Going up and down and switchbacks, trying to get them to the top of the mountain. There's just another downside from wind energy. So yes, you're right. There's huge costs involved, and it's our tax dollars going into subsidizing it.
Gregory, where are we today? I mean, as far as on a 1 to 10 scale, 1 being not too much to worry about, 10 being jump out of the boat and swim to shore, where are we on the energy and climate change that the left wants to ridicule and absolutely demonize anything with fossil fuels and stop usage? Where are we on the scale?
Well, I believe, and we've stated it earlier, that the Earth is actually thriving, and it's thriving because of increased CO2. CO2 is having a wonderfully beneficial effect on the Earth. People like the Pope and other of the climate alarmists believe quite differently. He believes that we are spiraling into some climate hell based on our sins of emission, of our increase of CO2. He believes that islands in the South Pacific and the Caribbean will be underwater. But we've heard those predictions for decades, and they've proved wrong. Back in 2005, the UN predicted that there would be 50 million climate refugees by the year 2010. That came and went, and in the book I reference, I took a look at the populations of 5 of the most at-risk islands, and those populations had greatly increased. People were flocking to these islands instead of fleeing from them. And then in 2015, the same UN Commission, undaunted by their previous failures, predicted that 50 million climate refugees would be fleeing these same islands by the year 2020. So I think we both know how that's going to work out. We'll probably have more people from North America moving to those at-risk tropical islands than moving away.
Gregory, I want to thank you for the copy of your book. It was absolutely and is a must-read, Inconvenient Facts, the science that Al Gore doesn't want you to know. But where are we today as far as our voices coming out and trying to not only squelch but be heard above the din of the negativity against fossil fuels? How come more people like you, me, and others, why aren't we en masse trying to get this thing back on track the way it should be?
Yeah, I can speak confidently on it. I'm as you know, I've done the research, have the facts at hand. I'm a scientist, I'm a geologist. It becomes more difficult for non-scientists and lay people, your listeners, to be able to speak confidently because there's so much contradictory information out there. I'd recommend them to get a copy of the book, and they can learn more at inconvenientfacts.xyz. And they can also empower themselves. I'm offering a PowerPoint of the top 25 figures in the book. So they can get a PowerPoint of, let's say, the last 60 years' population of polar bears. And somebody tells them the polar bears are going extinct, they can say, no, here's a chart that they can use on Facebook or whatever. So I want to empower your listeners with that. If they go to inconvenientfacts.xyz and hit the subscribe button, I'll send them a link to that PowerPoint. That I've seen people posting charts from the book and charts right directly from that on Facebook. I've seen it on LinkedIn and other social media. I've seen tweets using some of these. So that's an effective tool right there, Seb.
Absolutely.
I've sent out thousands of these already, and I'd like to send out more thousands to your listeners.
It would be really advantageous to our children to learn and hear real facts like what are in your book. All science teachers, whether it's grade school or junior high or high school, should have a copy of this book, and the teachers really need to study it.
Oh, yeah. And it's not too late to order one for Dad for Father's Day on Sunday. I've had a lot of people buy books for their fathers. They look at it and they go, oh, my goodness, I love this. My dad's going to just love it. He's so interested in this. This looks like something that's right up his alley. So go buy one for Dad. And so it's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, We just got it in the Barnes & Noble brick-and-mortar stores here a couple of weeks ago.
Well, I'll tell you, folks, this man is one of my preferred guests. He knows what he's talking about. Author of Inconvenient Facts, The Science That Al Gore Doesn't Want You to Know. Gregory Wrightstone, thank you, sir, and have a wonderful week, and look forward to having you back.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. I've got a copy of his book. He was very nice to send me a copy, and it's an excellent read. Excellent read. Once again, I'll repeat the title so you can get one. Inconvenient Facts, The Science That Al Gore Doesn't Want You to Know. Written by Gregory Wrightstone. Thank you very much. Well, we'd better get a weather forecast on here real fast, and then we'll take some more of your calls. Give me a jingle on the landline, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Weather brought to you by Scarro's Meats. Boy, delicious meats at 331 North Road, Jerome. Number to call, Don and the crew, 324-7657. I've got to get him on the program. Maybe if I invite him over, he'll bring some bratwurst. I had a good thought there. Or you can go to their website, www.scarrowsmeats.com. Oh, delicious meats. Whether we're talking about the bratwurst or the breakfast sausage or the prime ribs or the smoked hams. Woo! Great for Father's Day. You check it out. Scarrow's Meats in Jerome. 324-7657. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
It's going to be another beautiful day as we kick off another work week here at Zebeth Ranch. We are looking at sunny skies for today, expecting a high of 70, but it is going to be breezy. Winds out of the west, right around 10 miles an hour, increasing by the afternoon, and gusts possible as high as 30 miles an hour. We are in a frost advisory for this evening and into the overnight areas, so if you have some tender vegetables outside, you might want to cover those up. Clear skies for tonight and a low of 40. Still going to be breezy, and that's going to contribute to the frost factor. For tomorrow, sunny skies, expecting a high of 78. Clear skies for tomorrow night with a low of 50. By Wednesday, sunny skies and getting up to 90 degrees. Mostly clear for Wednesday night with a low of 55. By Thursday, sunny and 80 and cooling off to 78 for Friday. That's your weather for Zebeth Ranch.
Oh, she does a great comprehensive job on the weather. Gina, thank you, thank you, thank you. And don't forget Scarrow's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. You can call Don, and then they'll tell you exactly where they're located, because you need to get over there and check out all the meats at Scarrow's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. And the number again, 324-7657. They are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Oh, my goodness sakes, we got time for another call. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a jingle on the landline. Tomorrow, let's take a look here on Tuesday. We have, let's see, we've got Vicky's Country Gardens coming on, and we've got our Ag Minutes brought to you by Stoats Equipment, your John Deere dealer. We've got Jeff Kastner coming on the air, Jeff Cantor, pardon me, and other guests. So we've got a full slate tomorrow on the program. Caller, good morning, and thank you for your call.
Hey, Zeb, I'll make it quick. I know it's top of the hour. Hey, you know what's interesting? You've been talking about the fossil fuels. What gets me about some of these non-fossil fuel cars that I don't think a lot of people are paying attention to is they contribute to the wear and tear of our highways and byways, and they don't contribute to any of the fuel tax because they don't buy anything like that.
Amen.
And if you take a look at some of the rumors going down, I mean, some of our legislatures are looking for ways in which to, pay for that. And something that's come across some of the tables is that when we start implementing some kind of a mileage tax, and it's all due to the fact that these electric cars are starting to swamp our roadways.
And you're right on your assumptions and your opinions on this. I tell you what, I am absolutely in favor of a purchase tax that would cover the highway taxes and everything when you buy one of those electric cars. I think there has to be some repayment or remuneration to the general taxing public to make sure that those people don't escape free of charge.
Exactly. Well, and then not to mention, they're going to tax the electrical system, and thanks to them, all our insurance rates have gone up because insurance companies can't just go and put the big, heap of insurance costs on one, those guys. They've got to spread the love. And so, we're kind of paying in more ways than one. I just don't think people really realize just how much, those electrical cars really cost.
And they being the owners of those cars and the manufacturers, they don't really come out and say how much electricity is. They don't say where the electricity is going to come from. They don't talk about the excess needs over somebody's shower or their toaster or whatever in their home over and above a car. I mean, this whole thing adds a burden to the electrical grid that right now is really at its nth degree as far as usage is concerned.
Yeah, and then they don't understand that it requires more fossil fuel.
There you go.
To make up that difference. And so it's just retarded how these people think, because it makes no rhyme or reason or sense as to their thought process, because they're crossing out one for another, and it's like the whole tax. It's like the energy tax credit or whatever what they call that. That Al Gore started up. Where you go and pay that credit.
The carbon tax. The carbon tax.
Changing stuff you wanted to.
Yeah, the carbon tax credit, yes.
Yeah, there you go. It was just like right there with that. That was like one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. But, it's a liberal excuse as to why they're wasting their so-called natural resources.
I appreciate your call. That was well stated, and thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Zeb.
All right, buddy. Thanks. Hey, don't forget, if you're getting ready for a road trip, regardless of where you're going, make sure you leave safely and come home safely on really good tires from your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Don't forget they got all the different tread designs. They've got all the different tires for your car, your pickups, your SUVs, horse trailers, boat trailers, whatever. And they also offer a free pre-trip safety check to check the air pressure in your tires and check the brake components, the wheel alignment, for tire wear, front end components, shocks and struts, battery, including a load test. They really care. They want you to have a safe, fun trip. Don't worry. Stop in today at any one of the 7 locations of your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley. The best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Center. Stop in and see them today. Got to run, and we'll be back tomorrow morning at 8:06. Saddle the horse, ride for 3 hours from 8:06 to 11 right here on Zebeth Ranch. And don't forget our slogan. It's true. The way things were are the way things ought to be. See you tomorrow morning. Have a good one.